Hello, how you guys doing? James here. Hope you're doing well and having a good day. Well, I got some not so nice news on this next video that I'm about to show you. It's more series on Sundown Towns, and it's going to get really hectic. Well, excuse the language I'm about to show you, but check what this woman says.
That are walking around here, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself. I heard your little threat. I peep your motherfucking game, but I want you to fucking peep mine. Try me if you want to. Try me, and I promise you I'm taking some motherfucking body with me. You can think it's a motherfucking joke if you want to. All of us black women out here ain't weak. We gon' fuck around and find out today.
Excuse the language on that one, but I'm about to give you more clarity why she said that.
I done triggered a lot of European Americans about my video about being a black trucker going through these sundown towns, and they're like, you're lying, racism doesn't exist, you're lying. Okay, let me break down the history lesson for you guys. My grandma, mother, and Harriet Tubman were alive at the same time. Mind you, she was 6. I met that same grandma. Let's go over here. My mom was born in 1964. That's when the Jim Crow era ended. So slavery, we're not too far away from slavery, and we're not too far away from goddamn Jim Crow. So to think that there is no racism in 2024 is insane. Maybe you guys, European Americans, are from California, where you don't see it that much, or you're from New York, where you don't see it that much. But where I work at, in Middle America, in this blue collar job, you're gonna see it. Go to West Virginia in my skin color, and you'll see it. So don't tell me racism does. Don't try to gaslight me. Racism doesn't exist. It does. I'm sorry, it does. I done triggered a lot of European Americans about my video about being a black.
So here's our Sundown Town video tip. When you're going through these little towns at night, you see people just facing the street, sitting at the gas station, sitting at McDonald's, sitting in these empty parking lots, and they sitting there just facing the street. That's their local security forces. That's the motherfucker who's finna pull out 5 to 10 seconds after you pass by. They gonna follow you to the edge of town. They gonna report ahead to the next town. All these little towns got them. All these little racist apartment buildings in these cities got them. They all fucking got them, bro. That's what a lot of people don't know. But when you drive through these towns, you see them fucking lights on. Motherfuckers just facing the street, acting like the police. They not police. That's what that is.
Alright, y'all, so I'm gonna give y'all a quick little story time on the night I spent overnight at a sundown town, you know what I'm saying, in my semi-truck. I slept overnight, you know what I'm saying. I'm in my semi-truck right now. I got a Kenworth T680, man, so boom, so this is what happened, right? So I'm in Indiana somewhere, right? I can't tell you where I'm at because I got a dedicated load over there, so I'm there all the time. But this is the first time I actually slept overnight over there, and I would never do that again. First of all, like, every time I go out there, I go in the daytime and I just get up out of there ASAP, as soon as possible. ASAP Rocky type shit, you know what I'm saying? So this is what happened. So first biggest mistake was it was around like 8, so it was getting dark. So I was driving through there. I had to get diesel. So I stopped at a truck stop, bro. Stopped at a truck stop. It was literally creepy as hell, bro. Like, I was by myself. I had nobody with me. I mean, I'm solo, so obviously I wouldn't have nobody with me. But everybody was just staring at me, bro. As soon as I got up out the truck, everybody knew I was black. Everybody, you know what I'm saying? I have my hair. I got tattoos. tattoos. I'm black, man, so you know what I'm saying, people know me. So I would say I wouldn't have nobody with me, but everybody was just staring at me, bro. As soon as I got up out the truck, everybody knew I was black. Everybody, you know what I'm saying, I have my hair, I got tattoos. I'm black, man, so you know what I'm saying, people know me. So So I go get diesel, and even inside was weird because everybody was just staring at me, bro. And even the cashier was literally like, you know where you at? I'm like, no, I don't know where I'm at. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just coming to get diesel and leaving, bro. And he was giving me problems, bro. And I was swiping the car. He was like, the car's not working. I'm like, bruh. So I had to call my dispatch, everything, bro. Giving me problems already in there, bro. So I'm thinking none of it, right? So finally the car works. I go up in there. I get up out of there, get diesel, pump my shit up, and pull off, right? So I'm not thinking nothing of it. I see this minivan, right? And I seen them parked at the parking lot. Like, they wasn't getting diesel, they was just parked. You know what I'm saying? So I see them following me, bro. So I'm going to drop off my load, right? And mind you, the load from the drop off location and the truck stop is literally like 45 minutes apart from each other. So they was following me the whole time, bro. And mind you, like, I'm not thinking of anything of it. Like, I'm like, okay, these motherfuckers are probably go the same way as I'm going, you know what I'm saying? So fast forward, I get off the exit, and I work for a small company, you know what I'm saying, that delivers like wood chips and hay and stuff to like farms and stuff, right? So I'm going to like a creepy ass farm, you know what I'm saying? So I get off the highway, and bro, I'm telling you, even the damn, and by where my drop off location is a damn Sundown Town, because it's really nothing out there, creepy as hell, no lights, no nothing, bro. The only lights is in the lights on the highway, you know what I'm saying? So I get over there, bro, and I get off the highway, and this car is still following me, bro. This car is literally still fucking following me, bro. So I'm like, hell no, bro. There's something in my head, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm black, bro. So I'm like, it's something up, bro. It's something up, man. This can't be right, bro. So I get to my drop-off location, and lucky there was security, and there was a gate, and she was like, we can't load you tonight. So I'm like, what the fuck? And she was like, you can't park inside the gate so you can sleep either. You have to sleep either outside the gate or like across the street or somewhere else. I'm like, hell no, bro. Like, what the fuck? So I'm like, alright, I'm about to just sleep by the gate, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so if anything happened, bro, the security guard is right there. And mind you, the car, as soon as I pulled into the gate, like, to deliver my load, he was doing U-turns, like, basically just doing U-turns and shit, like driving by, and I kept seeing him, like, he kept doing a U-turn, driving, doing a U-turn, driving, like, so he's going back and forth by the location, bro. So I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude, bro? Like, and I put down my window, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm trying to see what the hell is going on, which I probably should never did that for somebody else, but then he parked and got out the car. He's like, yeah, bro, like, I seen you at the truck stop, bro. Like, I hope you know where you at, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was just making sure that you got to your destination safe. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, what? Like, I'm like, where am I at? He's like, you ain't one of them places, bro. I'm like, I know I'm not in O Block. What the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I was like, bro, what the fuck? Like, them shits is actually real, bro. So y'all should realize, be aware of this stuff, bro. And I don't know if he was a weirdo. I really don't know if that nigga was just weird, or if he was actually trying to make sure I got to where I needed to be at, bro. So, you know what I'm saying? So, basically, his ass just left, and, you know what I'm saying? For the whole night, I slept right in front of the gate, and I low-key barely slept. I had my eyes open. I don't got no pipe yet, but I had my taser, you know what I'm saying? I got my taser, and I got some other stuff, but, you know what I'm saying? For y'all young black drivers, man, stay aware, be aware of where you're at, be around these. Alright, y'all, so I'm gonna give y'all a quick little story time on the...
Now we are, because in my last video, I said that, you know, somebody talked about something happening on Vancouver Mill Road, and it was on the scanner. So now, the Henderson Police Department has gone in now and changed their wording up and stuff. So now there is clarification. The investigation is going on in Vance County. And seeing that Vance County is part of Henderson, North Carolina, the family didn't have it wrong, but it's just the wrong jurisdiction. Now it's time to turn up the heat. Because seeing now that Vance County Sheriff's Office is ran by a brother, now seeing that right there, now we want to know, why are you denying the family from seeing their son? Why are you trying to make it seem like that this boy took his own life? We're not doing that. We don't play that game. We're not falling for the okie doke. So Sheriff Curtis R. Brain, we need some answers. We want to see the video from the Walmart that you claim that this boy went there and bought some rope and stuff. You want to prove everybody wrong? Go ahead and release some video. Release the findings. We need to find out. Plus, why are you denying the family from seeing their son, their family member? Why are you doing that? No, can't play that game. No, sir. It's time out from dancing the jig. This is night. It's time out from dancing the jig. This is not 1934, 44, 54. This is 2024. It's a whole new age and era. We want answers. We want them now.
I don't know what black people was confused
just imagine if that was your son, your nephew.
Why y'all keep running
Imagine
in
if this was
circles?
your grandson. Would you not want justice? Would you not want a thorough investigation? Would you not want to see your family member? Lay eyes on them just to see them, to make sure. Come on now. You got to act right. Do right by the people. Do right by this boy's family.
Keep making excuses. I don't know why y'all keep trying to find convenient ways to unify. I don't know why y'all keep trying to find cheap ways to unify. You want to stop oppression. You want to stop police killings. You want to stop racism. You want to stop brutality. Let's make it real simple. 1 + 1 = 2, right? Cool. If all the black people in Texas get together and put their guns together, shit'll change. If all the black people in Illinois do the same, shit'll change. If all the black people nationwide in each state do that, and then from there, once we have each state on code, then we bring it all together. But until we start with the small things, we can never get to the big things. See, y'all too busy debating about Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. You too busy debating about who fucking who. You too busy debating about gossip. You too busy spilling tea. You too busy trying to live a life that you can't afford to live. You too busy doing all the things except live within your purpose. What do you expect? Y'all are scared. Everybody's scared. It's okay. We human. It's alright. You want to stop all of these things, the racism, you want to stop all of it, right? You just have to put together a team that is on code and shoot back. See, a couple things need to happen. All you tech-savvy people, meaning people that can create websites and apps that are black, why haven't you created our own social? Y'all are leaving money on the table. Why haven't you created a black-owned social media app? Why are you so focused on designer clothes from the brands that don't even want you wearing their clothes? Why are you so focused on giving your attention and your mind and your emotions to entertainers that have proven time and time again they just want your dollar, they do not want your criticism. They do not care about your criticism. They do not care about what's good for the community. They only care about what's good for their pocket. See, it's something y'all gotta learn about Oreo motherfuckers, okay? Oreo motherfuckers, when they in poverty, everything's bad, everything's oppression, everything's racism, everything's brutality. But as soon as they get $1 put in their pocket, as soon as they run their money up, now all of a sudden America ain't so bad. See, that's a sellout. And 90% of these entertainers, 90% of these athletes, sellouts. Go look at when Kaepernick kneeled. How many of them kneeled with him? Sports ain't nothing but modern day Mandingo fights. Go look it up. They've conditioned you into a cycle of self-destruction
and now you can't get out of it because you're unwilling to do the hard stuff to get out of it. The hard stuff being unify on a small level first so we can get to the big level. The small stuff being pick a social media influencer, pick somebody you deem as a good leader for the community and fund them. We're going to have to put money behind somebody. Y'all keep trying to act like money don't need to move. Money gotta move. This is America. Whether you like it or not, this is America, and money gotta move for shit to change. I don't give a damn. You don't like me. You don't like how blunt I am. You don't like how I give it up. Alright, cool. Get the fuck off my page. I don't care. I don't want your dollar. I'm telling you, make a move, pick somebody or a few people, fund them, tell them what your expectations are for those funds, and let's get going. Things could have been changed, but we're not moving because nobody wants to do the hard stuff. Nobody wants to do the inconvenient stuff. Everybody wants to do, oh, well, look on Instagram. Chris Brown got girls spending $1,000 on him. Man, so fucking what? Y'all worrying about Shannon Sharp being gay, but y'all fighting Kendrick Lamar over Lil Wayne and he was kissing Birdman in the mouth. And I don't know what black people is confused about. I don't know why y'all keep running in circles. I don't know why y'all keep making excuses. I don't know why y'all keep trying to find convenient ways to unify. I don't know why y'all keep trying to find cheap ways to unify. You want to stop oppression. You want to stop police killings. You want to stop racism. You want to stop.
As I brought you this story yesterday regarding Jacoby, found out his last name is Jacoby Lindsay. He's down there in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He's the one that was found in front of Tim's elementary school swinging from a tree. I also told you guys how the grandfather was sent a picture, and it was a godsend that somebody actually sent him a picture for proof before they try to get up here and say that it was self-inflicted. Now that original video that I did is stitched to this one right here. Go over there and check it out. I gave some details in that, but didn't have a lot of information. Now I do. The picture that was sent to the grandfather shows that Jacoby was in the tree swinging by a rope, and he was in a fetal type position where rigor mortis is set in. Now everybody knows that when you hang something from a hook, from a tree, whatever, you know, with a rope, anything, it's gonna dangle. It's not gonna be in a fetal position. Somebody did this to this young man. Somebody did it. As I brought you this story yesterday regarding Jacoby, found out his last name is Jacoby Lindsay. He's down there in Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Depending on your zip code and eligibility.
They scorched and burned homes with families inside, slaughtered and tortured others. The troops were aided by 7 machine guns.
We are certain that a reign of terror against the black population of that part of Phillips County took place.
For the next 5 days, Colonel Jenks and his troops, assisted by vigilantes, hunted black people over a 100-mile radius.
We are certain that machine gun crews went out looking for people to gun down. We are certain that blacks were brought into, in effect, concentration camps and held in all violation of all the laws of the state of Arkansas.
A local school teacher saw 1 to 28 black people killed, their bodies thrown into a pit and burned, and 16 African Americans killed, their bodies hanging from a bridge outside of Helena.
I call that out for Mississippi.
It's well known that life insurance is designed to pay tax-free cash to your loved ones if you pass. But what you probably didn't know,
Helena.
I call that out for Mississippians to come to the rescue of the white men in Phillips County who were under severe attack. And so they jumped into cars and they jumped into trains, and at least according to the oral sources that I've talked to, they fired out of the windows at every black they saw. Women in the fields, it didn't matter. If it was black and moving, it was target practice.
There were 300 to 400 more white men with guns, shooting and killing women and children. Farmers were not the only target at this point for the mob. Dr. D.A. Johnson, a prominent dentist from Helena, Arkansas, and his 3 brothers are seized. They are chained together in a car and shot to death.
And by the time order was restored eventually and shooting had ended, some say, however, that as many as 200 blacks at least had been killed that day, aside the bodies that had been dumped in the Mississippi River, or left to rot in a canebrake.
The stench of the dead can be smelled from miles away. In the end, the remaining blacks caught would be arrested and arraigned for execution on account of the assault on their lives and deaths of their loved ones.
The general reaction of the white establishment in Phillips County in the aftermath of the riot was a charge that was leveled against the black population, that they were in a secret conspiracy to rise up and to overthrow the white power structure and the landowning class in eastern Arkansas.
In the predominantly black town of Elaine, Arkansas, a dark and sinister event unfolded that would shake the community to its core forever. That September unholy night, filled with unearthly terror and bloodshed, continues to resound in the annals of history. It was the day where a group of white mobs had descended on the predominantly black town, leaving a trail of irrecoverable destruction in their wake. This would turn out to be one of the darkest chapters in America's history, one of the deadliest acts of racial violence in the early 20th century, known as the Elaine mass killing or the Elaine race riot. However, before we embark on this dark history, do not forget to support our channel's endeavor by hitting the thumb button. Share with friends and families to keep spreading our eye-opening black narrative, and consider subscribing if you haven't. All right then, let us dive in. The Elaine mass killing was by far the deadliest racial confrontation in Arkansas history, and possibly the bloodiest racial conflict in the history of the United States. While its deepest roots lay in the state's commitment to white supremacy, the events in and around Elaine, Phillips County, stemmed from tense race relations and growing concerns about labor unions. A shooting incident that occurred at a meeting of the Progressive Farmers and Household Union escalated into mob violence on the part of the white people in Elaine and surrounding areas.
So Tuesday night,
although the exact number is unknown, estimates of the number of African Americans killed by whites in this outburst have ranged into the hundreds, thousands of others displaced. But first, let us take a brief look at life in Elaine before feeding you details on the chilling and heart-wrenching event that took place on that memorable night of 1919. Phillips County, which is located in the Arkansas Delta, had historically been developed for cotton plantations, and its land was worked by enslaved African Americans before the Civil War. In the early 20th century, the county's population was still predominantly black, because most freedmen and their descendants had stayed on the land as illiterate farm workers and sharecroppers. African Americans outnumbered whites in the area around Elaine by a 10-to-1 ratio, and by 3-to-1 in the county overall. White landowners controlled the economy, selling cotton on their own schedule, running high-priced plantation stores where farmers had to buy seed and supplies, and settling accounts with sharecroppers in lump sums without listing items. In addition, sharecroppers worked the land for a small share of the crop and were forced to sell their cotton to the landowners, who paid less than market prices. Workers also had to buy food, clothing, household wares, tools, seed and fertilizer at the plantation commissary, which charged exorbitant interest rates. It was a system intended to keep black people in debt and dependent upon planters. The all-white legislature made the situation worse, as it had disenfranchised most blacks and many poor whites in the 1890s by creating barriers to voter registration. It excluded them from the political system via the more complicated election law of 1891 and a poll tax amendment passed in 1892. The white-dominated legislature enacted Jim Crow laws that established racial segregation and institutionalized efforts to impose white supremacy.
My name is Asha Davis, and I'm an actor. I was born in Cogdell, Georgia in 1917, 2 years before the tragedy in Elaine. Yet, despite geographical differences, the world of rural Arkansas was not much different from the world of rural Georgia. Both were part of the South, then a region where black people were segregated from whites by custom and law. As a black person, I was forbidden to eat in the same restaurant, study in the same school, pray in the same church, or be admitted to the same hospital. Like every other Southern black person, I was expected to learn my place as a second-class citizen. And if I didn't, calamity could strike me down suddenly and without warning. I still remember the terrifying stories I heard as a child of how white men in white hoods burned crosses, whipped, hung, and burned to death black men and women who had transgressed the racial codes. To me, these tales always carried with them the smell of burning flesh.
The decades around the turn of the century were the period of the highest rate of lynchings across the South. Asha Davis would go on to report that at the time, the cotton fields were the best place whites considered was for black people. White planters needed cheap black labor to grow and pick their cottons. Among the richest fields in the world are hundreds of thousands of square miles of land in the Arkansas Delta. The men and women who work the land are supposed to receive half the cotton crop in exchange for their labor, but many landlords would cheat them out of their rightful share. White landowners often underpaid sharecroppers for their crops and paid when they saw fit. Between the prices of goods purchased from the plantation store and the crop underpayments, many were kept in debt to their landlords.
The man would take your cotton, and then the man at the store, you had credit, he run the books up on you, so you didn't have nothing. You work a whole year and hand pick 40 bales of cotton and come out with nothing.
They kept him in debt, this black or white, but particularly blacks, and he never did get out of debt. So he might be living on the same plantation for 10, 15, 20 years and never get out of debt.
At the time of settlement, landowners generally never gave an itemized statement to black sharecroppers of accounts owed, nor details of the money received for cotton and seed. The farmers were disadvantaged as many were illiterate. It was an unwritten law of the cotton country that the sharecroppers could not quit and leave a plantation until their debts were paid. Thus, the period of the year around account settlement was frequently the time of most lynchings of black people throughout the South, especially if times were poor economically. At this time of 1919, it was summer, and strangely, there's been this fiery outbreak of racial violence which rippled across the entire United States like some raging force of darkness, which it obviously was. Therefore, by virtue of the season, mingled with the non-spatial unfolding chaos, it was called the Red Summer. The term Red Summer was coined by civil rights activist and author James Weldon Johnson, who had been employed as a field secretary by the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, 3 years earlier, in 1916. In 1919, he organized peaceful protests against the racial violence. By this time, no less than at least 350 cities across the United States have been affected by this dark racial outbreak, where white supremacist terrorism and racial riots had continually unfolded. In Chicago, 23 whites and 15 blacks are killed in Washington, D.C. 4 whites and 2 blacks. Whites are astounded that blacks would dare to fight back. The anti-black riots developed from a variety of post-World War I social tensions, generally related to the demobilization of both black and white members of the United States Armed Forces following World War I, an economic slump, and increased competition in the job and housing markets between ethnic European Americans and African Americans. The time would also be marked by labor unrest, for which certain industrialists used black people as strikebreakers, further inflaming the resentment of white workers. Going forward, many black sharecroppers in Phillips County, whose cotton was sold in October 1918, did not as well get a settlement before July of the following year. They had
I heard virtual doctors can't.
I have one more video I want to show you of the present.
So Tuesday night, I'm riding out of Tennessee headed to Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Off I-40, I had to detour off and take a back road up the mountains into North Carolina. I noticed as I'm going up this 2-lane road, I passed a car that was sitting outside of the road, lights on. As soon as I pull out, past them, they pull out behind me. I get 3 or 4 or 5 miles further up the mountain, I see the shit again. A car on the side of the road with the lights on. So, must I add, this like 30, 40 miles up the mountains, heading into North Carolina, leaving Tennessee. They followed me to 30 to 40 miles in the rain, 2, 3 in the fucking morning, followed me all the way until I finally got to the end of the road to get up out of the mountains and detour to a next motherfucker. Now, Sundown Town. Not all of blacks are going for that shit. You feel me? You run up on the right one, meaning me, I'm taking a couple of you motherfuckers with me. So, I hear this trending topic about sundown towns. I can give 2 fucks. I grew up in King Hill, Montgomery, Alabama. And the last thing we ever did was back down from white people. So just know, all brothers ain't going. I'm taking a couple of you motherfuckers with me. Know that. Yo, so Tuesday night, I'm riding out of Tennessee headed to...
So these racist people still think that they can put some scare. And the reason why I showed the video, because this is past behavior. And it's the reason why. But they don't know that this generation taught that generation that if you do this, that's supposed to put some scare in some people. But you have a different generation of people are not going to take that no more. You know, some are not going to take it. Then when they find out, they really going to be mad.
If you have 1 ounce of racism in your body and think you're going to make it to heaven, you've been completely misunderstood and mistaken. Because I'm telling you right now that Jesus was black. All the people in the Bible were black. And you're sitting up here acting as if you're better, treating them like dogs or animals, acting as if they don't exist on this earth, acting like they shouldn't be at the same job as you, or they shouldn't live the same life as you, or even a better life. Yeah, you ain't making it to heaven, I'm sorry to tell you, buddy. The Indians and the black people were here before the Europeans, before the white folk. They owned the land, and then the Europeans wanted to come in and take over. Now, all y'all think you own the world. All y'all think that black people shouldn't be on this earth. But, sorry to tell you, but we all bleed the same blood. And they were here before us. And God, and I mean, Jesus is black. All the people in the Bible, the angels and everything were black. So, you better get your minds right, act right, and start loving everybody. Quit with this hatred. Quit with this racism. Quit with all of this nonsense. It don't make any sense. Like, grow the freak up. Grow up. You're not going to make it to heaven. You are not going to make it to heaven if you do not have love for everybody. And Jesus died for you and he was black. And y'all are hating on black people? Y'all need to get your minds right. Get it right. If you have 1 ounce of racism in your body,
wow, she can say a little better than that. But yeah, I definitely want to put that video up. Because maybe it's a message. A message in a message. But, maybe I gotta see this one.
Even truckers would avoid that route if they weren't 100% certain that they could.
Just a few more. This year. And let's never forget, they still trying to rule his death or suicide right now. All of them black, all of them went to historically sundown towns and were told not to take those routes, and they took them anyway. And this is what the results of them taking those routes were. It's not in the past, it's right now.
Even truckers would have.
Another young black man. I want to control your influence.
Okay. That's enough of that. But here's the reality. And this is, but why? So the question is probably, why does this keep happening? When you look at from the past, what this video is from centuries and centuries. In America, you have an ancient hatred. You have a spirit of hatred. And the spirit of hatred moves with the spirit of jealousy, envy, and strife. And then the M spirit that delete people. And it's a spirit that's been on this land for a long time.
I heard virtual doctors can't really diagnose that much from behind a screen.
July of the following year. They had amassed considerable debt at the plantation store before that time, as they had to buy supplies, including seed, to start the next season. However, in that remarkable year of 1919, black farmers on this side of a lane had begun to organize themselves in the endeavor to negotiate better conditions, including fair accounting and timely payment of monies due them by white landowners. Robert Lee Hill, a black farmer from Winchester, Arkansas, had founded the Progressive Farmers and Household Union of America, PFHUA, at this time. He worked with farmers throughout Phillips County, the main purpose being to obtain better payments for their cotton crops from the white plantation owners who dominated the area during the Jim Crow era. Whites would often try to disrupt such organizations and threaten farmers. The Progressive Farmers and Household Union of America retained a white law firm based in Little Rock to represent the black farmers in getting fair settlements for their labors during the 1919 cotton harvest. The firm was headed by Ulysses S. Bratton, a native of Searcy County and former Assistant Federal District Attorney. Now, to the heart-wrenching episode of the racial violence that unfolded. In the sweltering summer of 1919, tensions were already running high in Elaine. Launched on the backs of exploited black labor, the town of Elaine, Arkansas, seethed with the pent-up fury of generations. The African-American community, fueled by the promise of equality and justice, had begun to organize and demand better working conditions and fair wages from white plantation owners. On that night of September 30, 1919, approximately 100 African Americans, mostly sharecroppers on the plantations of white landowners, attended a meeting of the Progressive Farmers and Household Union of America at a church in Hoop Spur, Phillips County, 3 miles north of Elaine. The purpose of this meeting, which was one of several meetings by black sharecroppers in the Elaine area during the previous months, was to obtain better payments for their cotton crops from the white plantation owners. The union had contracted with lawyer Ulysses S. Bratton, whose son, OCA, was at this meeting. In previous months, racial conflict had occurred in numerous cities in America, including Washington, D.C., Chicago, Illinois, Knoxville, Tennessee, and Indianapolis, Indiana. With labor conflicts escalating throughout the country at the end of World War I, government and business interpreted the demands of labor increasingly as the work of foreign ideologies, such as Bolshevism, that threatened the foundation of the American economy. Thrown into this highly combustible mix was the return of black soldiers to the United States, who often exhibited a less submissive attitude within the Jim Crow society around them. Unions such as the Progressive Farmers represented a threat not only to the tenet of white supremacy, but also to the basic concepts of capitalism. Although the United States was on the winning side of World War I, supporters of American capitalism found in communism a new threat to their security. With the success of the Russian Revolution, stopping the spread of international communism was seen as the duty of all loyal Americans. Arkansas Governor Charles Hillman Brough told a St. Louis, Missouri audience during the war that there existed no twilight zone in American patriotism, and called Wisconsin Senator Robert La Follette, who opposed the war, a Bolshevik leader. During this Red Scare, the threat of Bolshevism seemed to be everywhere, not only in the labor strikes led by the radical industrial workers of the world, but also in the cotton fields of Arkansas. Thus, being aware of the risk they were taking, leaders of the Hoop Spur Union had placed armed guards around the church to prevent disruption of their meeting and intelligence gathering by white opponents. However, the white establishment would get wind of the ongoing meeting this time, and seeing it as a threat to their power, they had responded with brute force, sparking a wave of violence that would last for days. At 11 p.m., a band of white men would shoot into the church. Black guards returned the fire, resulting in the killing of
You need to check out the USCCA. They offer the education, the training, and the self-defense liability insurance so that you can have...
Black guards returned the fire, resulting in the killing of W.A. Adkins, a white security agent of the Missouri Pacific Railroad, and the wounding of Charles Pratt, Phillips County's white deputy sheriff. News of the shooting quickly reached the county seat of Helena. Soon, word would spread that blacks were attacking whites in Elaine. By early morning, on October 1, the sheriff sent white veterans from the American Legion post to suppress what he deemed as an insurrection. Calls went out to the governor for federal troops. Telephone lines to Elaine were cut. Throughout the day, at least 1,000 white vigilantes came from all over the state and from Mississippi to join plantation owners, their managers, sheriffs, deputies, and the veterans to put down what they had called an uprising. But it was effectively an invasion. By the day's end, countless black women, men, and children had been slaughtered. The following morning, Governor Charles H. Brough of Arkansas and a World War I veteran, Colonel Isaac Jenks, personally escorted 583 soldiers, including a machine gun battalion, from Camp Pike in Little Rock, the state capital, to Elaine. Colonel Jenks sent all of the white women and children to Helena by train, ordered the immediate disarming of everyone, and authorized the killing of black insurgents who failed to disarm. Then the real mass killing began. For the next 5 days, Colonel Jenks and his troops, assisted by vigilantes, hunted black people over a 100-mile radius. They scorched and burned homes with families inside, slaughtered and tortured others. The troops were aided by 7 machine guns. At least 200 African Americans were killed, although the estimates run much higher, but there was never a full accounting. And the killing was indiscriminate as men, women, and children unfortunate enough to be in the vicinity were slaughtered. And so, without sanctuary or refuge, black sharecroppers were left with few options. Many hid in the swamps and thickets. Others were said to have been gunned down in fields as they worked, and throngs of others surrendered themselves to the authorities for arrest. Amidst the violence, only 5 whites died, but for those deaths, someone would have to be held accountable. On October 7th, 1919, Colonel Jenks declared the insurrection over and withdrew his troops. He brought the men and women deemed insurrectionists to the Phillips County Jail in Helena. And guess who they were? Blacks. Blacks in unspeakable misery, who have just been rendered homeless as they had watched their homes go up in flames before their very frightened eyes. Blacks in mourning, who has lost their loved ones, watching them shot before their eyes. Some were burned, others raped and killed. These were the very ones who were called insurrectionists, arrested and thrown in jail. As a matter of fact, that was a treatment of mercy, to still have their lives with them, regardless. Held in a makeshift jail, hundreds of blacks were detained until their participation in the Progressive Farmers and Household Union of America could be verified. Those farmers who had not participated in the union were held until their landlords would arrive to vouch for and collect them. Those fortunate enough to leave the stockade as the jail was also called, were given passes that they were to show on demand and were ordered to return to the fields for work. On October 31, a grand jury indicted 122 black men and women for offenses ranging from murder to night riding. The jury charged 12 black men with the capital murders of 3 white men and sentenced them to death, even though 2 of the deaths had occurred from white people accidentally shooting each other in a frenzy. The 12 men sentenced to death were Frank Moore, Frank Hicks, Ed Hicks, Joe Knox, Paul Hall, Ed Coleman, Alfred Banks, Ed Ware, William Wordlaw, Albert Giles, Joe Fox, and John Martin. The confessions of the black men had been secured through torture. Thus, black people were blamed, sentenced, and jailed for their own mass killing. The events that unfolded in Elaine, Arkansas in 1919 were not just a tragic loss of life, but a chilling display of racial violence and injustice. Local officials and businessmen conducted their own investigation of what had transpired in the Elaine area. They produced a predictable narrative that resembled those dating back to slavery. In their view, a deliberately planned insurrection had occurred, where black sharecroppers had intended to murder the plantation owners to seize the land. The findings blamed outside agitators for stirring up ignorant sharecroppers. The committee's narrative appeared in newspapers all over the country. Colonel Jenks's report of his mission supported this view, claiming only 2 black people and 1 of his corporals had died. He praised his troops for their restraint in suppressing the rebellion. The official narrative presented a picture at odds with reality. But according to several accounts from white witnesses, both vigilantes and the troops committed acts of barbarism. A local school teacher saw 28 black people killed, their bodies thrown into a pit and burned, and 16 African Americans killed, their bodies hanging from a bridge outside of Helena. A Memphis reporter described events on October 2nd after the troops had arrived. Thus he had stated,
"Troops and vigilantes went into the cane breaks in search of Negro desperados, leaving dead bodies lying in the road a few miles outside of the city. Enraged citizens fired at the bodies of the dead Negroes as they rode out of Helena toward Elaine. Still others described the barbarism of cutting off the ears or toes of dead Negroes for souvenirs and the dragging of their bodies through the streets of Elaine. Also, Gerald B. Lambert, the founder of Listerine, who owned 21,000 acres near Elaine, saw white men spread throughout the woods, firing at any suspicious person. In his words,
a steel gondola car was hauled back and forth on the railroad track, the men inside firing from the shelter of the steel walls of the car, shooting black people.
He also told how soldiers brought a suspected Union leader to his company store for interrogation, poured kerosene over his body, and tossed a match. The account that best captured the perspective of the sharecroppers came from Ida Wells Barnett, the legendary anti-lynching crusader and journalist. She had been driven from her home in Memphis to Chicago because of her activism. One of the convicted 12 wrote to her from prison, requesting help. Courageously, she dressed up as a sharecropper and went to Arkansas. There, she interviewed the 12 prisoners accused of murder, their wives, and many others, publishing her findings in a 1920 pamphlet. Ms. Wells Barnett gathered testimonies that described the sheer horror of the mass killing from those who endured and lived to tell their stories. One Union member, Ed Ware, told her that men had fired into the Hoop Spur Church, killing several people, then burned it down the next day with bodies inside. When he returned home, 150 men came to ransack his house, seizing his Union meeting minutes and his Masonic Lodge books. As they surrounded his house, another man inside, Charlie Robinson, tried to run away. He was elderly and handicapped and ran too slowly. They shot him and left him to die. They stole Ware's cow, 2 mules, 1 horse, a farm wagon, his Ford car, and various household goods. He lost 121 acres of cotton and corn. Many families described how they had run into the woods for safety from bloodthirsty mobs, hoping to surrender themselves to the federal troops for safety. Instead, the troops either shot or arrested them. Vigilantes from Mississippi seized another Union member, Lula Black, and her 4 children from her house, knocked her down, pistol whipped and kicked her, then took her to jail. Carrying an axe with their guns, they then moved to another home, where they murdered yet another Union member, Frances Hall. In a final act of disrespect, they tied her dress over her head and left her body on the side of the road for several days. 79-year-old Ed Coleman had remained at home with his wife when people fleeing Hoopspur came to his house and warned them to leave. As they ran from the posse, the Colemans saw his neighbor, Jim Miller, and his family being burned alive in their house. After hiding for 2 days in the woods, the Colemans returned home to find dead bodies.
Now, I bet you could imagine how now we see a war over there online with Israel and Hamas. We see Ukraine and Russia and all what they done. And America has to sit back and think. We have no room to talk. Because according to this video, look what we've done among ourselves. With the narrative. And this is going to come back to haunt. That's why God's going to judge America. Because it keeps happening. Keep on happening.
Might ask why we here. Accountability, transparency. The community needs answers, and we're here to apply pressure. Leah's flown in from Texas. Harry's flown in from Georgia. I'm out of Greensboro. Upton's out of Raleigh. We're here for answers, and we're not leaving until we get them. The family deserves them. And we've seen the videos, we've seen the photographs, and this investigation is not complete. This investigation is too premature for any determination to be made what happened. What we want is we want answers. We want them now, we want them as soon as possible, and we want the system to work, because this family should not be in a position where they get a phone call about this young man coming into this county, working his job, and that he's found hanging from a tree. And the pictures, it's horrible. And this county deserves to explain and spend the resources to let us know every detail of what happened. And that's what we're here for. And so I think Harry was right, I think Lee was right, I think Covington, everybody, we're here to apply pressure, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to stay as long as it takes. And we're going to talk to who we need to talk to. We're going to make as much noise as we need to get answers, to get the truth, and to make sure there's justice with it.
Right.
First of all, look, I would like to say, we'd like to thank Lee Merritt, Harry Daniels, and this is Andrew Covington with me for coming. You might ask why we here. Accountability, transparency. The community needs answers.
Why did I play that video? Because this is the present, that's the past. And when people say, don't stop talking about it, we don't want our children to see that. See, they're going to try to do everything they can for the future generations not to see this, but one day the future, but as long as there's a computer, as long as there's information out there, the young people that's in the future generations are going to see what's going to happen. So even if they take it out to schools, I don't want them to be subject to feel what I feel that. I don't want them to see that. But yet, some of them in their own homes, when they see black people, they refer to them as the people like the ancestors did. Some of them. So, excuse the foul language with some of the people, on the video. Hopefully, I don't know. It probably won't get. I don't know what they're gonna say about that, but people are frustrated. Now that was in 1919. We're in 2024, and we have, and you see how the spirit of racism keeps rising up. It keeps. What's going on? It's a spirit. Is in this land, and that spirit has jumped from generation after generation. Again, it's a spirit that has been in this land, and even though we have all people from all walks of life, it was only a certain type of people they would constantly come after. They will go after other people, They went after Chinese, they went after Mexicans, they went after certain other people. But when it came to the black people, it's like they had go to and from and above. And what you see, you heard what they did. And it's another video I'm going to show you what they did with other parts of their body. It's a cannibalistic society. And you think that spirit have left? No. Because remember the young man that found rolled up in the mat in Georgia? That spirit still roams the earth among them. Do your research, do your history. But I just wanted to say, that's what I wanted to say. But this was really sad. But yeah, there's some people, but you know, for black people, it's time to code up, arm up, because and don't let up, and keep your head on the swivel, because you don't know who it is who's doing this. So be careful out there. And whether you're a truck driver or any kind of driver who goes around with your family, be careful. Because you got some demonic people out there. Very demonic. That can, and some of them are the ancestors of these. Some of these people are the ancestors of them that did what they did to some people that look like us back then. And they don't want America. They don't want their children. They don't want the future children, generations, to watch this stuff. But the blood of those, the injustice of those people, blood still cry from the ground. Their spirit is not going to be rested till justice is. Look at Lake Lanier. Look how many lives it took down there. Let them think about that. Alright then, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe, and go to TikTok. If you want more information like this, you know, there's where the truth is at, because it's being suppressed. But not anymore. More people boldly coming forward to let you know what's on the real. Take care, be blessed. See you on the next video.